What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. We're going to talk about financial independence today. It is Independence Day, and I know that it's not the independence that we typically talk about on the 4th of July. Maybe there's more people that do it than I know about. But what I wanted to talk about is I was inspired by another channel. And I'll go through that, but we're going to talk about the financial independence as it applies to me, my situation here in Italy. And I'm just walking around my neighborhood because it's beautiful outside today. This is a pretty unique property right here behind me, if you can see that. You probably know that I often come into this area. This property has been abandoned for 7 years since I moved into this area, but even longer. I assume it's more like 10 years. And it's just, it's not the most amazing building in the world, but it's pretty unique. Literally nobody lives up here. Down in this section here, the kids often hang out here and break the windows, and that's not cool. But when you leave a property abandoned like this, especially one that looks as nice as this one, they tend to find uses for it. The reason why I'm doing this is actually I stumbled across a video from Bigger Pockets, and over on his channel he talks about how to become a millionaire by investing in real estate. And so this topic is, it's always very interesting to see, oh, millionaire, it says millionaire, let's check out that video. So I checked it out, and it's just him standing in front of a whiteboard. But in his video he talks about those 4 money generators of cash flow, appreciation, loan payoff, and tax incentives. And we're going to talk about the first 3. Now the fourth one, tax incentives, is very important that you learn the tax incentives of your community. Principally, if you just learn your system, whatever nation you live in will have specific types of tax incentives to take advantage of. And that is the same case in Italy. And we'll be sharing more about that in the future. So subscribe to the channel and I'll teach you 2020 current events. We're going to do an interview about a specific incentive that they just applied. Mostly because of recent events, you'll be able to actually make some money back on investing in real estate here in Italy. Come back for that video for sure. Now I'm going to be basing it on the same rental property that I shared previously on this channel, because I actually need to adjust a mistake that I made. I forgot to include the mortgage that I'm paying when I did my calculation. So I didn't mean to inflate those numbers. It just slipped my mind. I didn't put it in the video when I was editing it, though I had recorded it. So I'm going to attempt to fix that mistake and show you the real situation that property is in, and see if that first investment property that we had done puts us on at least even close to being on track to this becoming a millionaire through real estate investing. I'm going to go through my numbers and see if I'm on track to becoming a millionaire, and how many times I have to repeat my processes in order to become a millionaire. Let's hop over there. We're here in the office, and I pulled out the whiteboard. I actually made this whiteboard, if you haven't noticed. It has a hole in it. But I just got the paint scratched the back when I was making it. But this is from a kitchen table. I didn't want to spend the 200 euros or whatever it costs to buy something this large or even smaller. So I built it myself. You're welcome. No, really, I'm happy. So what we're here to do is to look at those numbers, to talk about the way that Bigger Pockets has explained in his video the 4 big wealth generation tools, right? The ways to make money in real estate. We're going to start with cash flow. We're going to talk about appreciation. We're going to talk about loan payoff. And tax incentives we're not going to talk about, because I'm going to dedicate that to a future video. Honestly, I do it all the time, but tax incentives in Italy are not the same as yours. What I encourage you to do is subscribe to the channel so that when that video comes out, you'll know and you'll be ready. But what I do want you to do is look up your tax incentives in your country. I mean, there's lots of people watching this channel. If you're not American, you've got to have something in your country that benefits real estate, because real estate is where value is held. Okay? Now, let's look at this. Cash flow. For my property, I've already been through it in my video, but there's something I need to correct. I made a mistake not mentioning that I do pay for a mortgage in the equations, and so it made my numbers look a little bit more than they should have, but it wasn't intentional. It was just me being a normal human and forgetting. So what we're gonna do is start with cash flow. Cash flow. So I'm gonna write really big, cash flow. Right, so the very first thing is how much money comes in from rents. I have rented out the property, and I know very well that you shouldn't consider 100% occupancy rate, especially when we're talking about a 10-year period. But I'm just telling you how it's worked for me. There's literally been 1 month where I haven't had someone in the property, okay? So let's just keep moving forward. 1,000 euros of revenue comes in from these apartments. I have 2 apartments we're gonna talk about. Since they're tied together with their mortgage, I thought it would be smart to group the numbers together for you to understand. I could split it in half, but then it would just take extra time. Okay, so these 2 apartments bring in 1,000, but I need to start subtracting some things. So here I need to subtract, let's say, the HOA fee, which it is part of an HOA that pays each apartment about 30 euros. So we have 60 euros. Income taxes. I don't know if I'm blocking that or what, but income taxes will be the next thing. Income taxes for this is about, well, it's 21% income tax because there's a specific tax regime that I'm in called cedulare seca. I can't remember how to say it. But I've chosen it instead of my typical IRPEF rate so that I can have that fixed rate as opposed to being in the upper tier. And there are strategies, so make sure you talk to a professional, to your professional specifically about it. But what it does for me is it's about 197 euros because it's not on this number. It's on this minus this. You don't have to pay taxes on this because it never actually, it just funnels through me. Okay, so now I go, and I'm going to round it up. It's easier, 200 euros for income taxes. I do pay property taxes on this property. These annual property taxes for both apartments together are 960 annually, okay? So I have to divide that by 12, which is, it's a little bit less than 80. So I'm going to round it up to 80 again. Now the fourth thing that I'm going to include in this calculation, and I'm rounding up to cover for some other stuff that I'm not going to mention, like insurance and maintenance and things like that that can vary. We're also changing the insurance policy, so I'm not so sure what to say for that one right now. A mortgage is that fourth thing I'm going to subtract. And for me, it's 191, but I actually always put 200. It doesn't go to capital, it goes to the savings account and just stays there for emergencies. So I'm going to include that as well, 200. Annually, that's 5,520 euros. If I make mistakes, it's just because I'm a human. You guys don't have to rag on me on the comments. You guys are always amazing. Okay, so we have this 5,520. It's nothing to quit your job over, but it's a good start, right? You can buy a pizza. No, it's not that expensive to buy a pizza here. What are you thinking? All right, so this is the cash flow section. Now we need to move forward because this is just one of the 3 parts out of the 4 that we're going to talk about today. The next one is appreciation, and I'm going to put appreciation on its own section here, and I didn't really leave space for the 3rd section probably, but appreciation, where you have to start here is understanding what the value is, right? So I mentioned previously that I was in the rental property at a certain level. Well, as of today, we had to add a little bit more investment money in order to cover the changing of the garages, the roof of the garages, because there was that asbestos product on top, so we got rid of that. All in right now, we're looking at about 33,000 euros per property, which is 66,000. Now, I don't need to talk about this necessarily, but appreciation in Italy is a little bit funny. It doesn't appreciate that much. Like we always talk about 3%. This is not cash in, this is cost. Why am I talking about the cost of my property first? Well, frankly, talking about appreciation in Italy is a little bit difficult because in America we talk about 3% being that standard. In Italy, that standard's a lot lower, and frankly, some people think it's actually depreciates in times. But what really happens is the newer properties appreciate slightly, and the older properties don't. So appreciation at 3% is not something that we consider here. I'm going to consider it for this scenario. A lot of you are investing in the US, and it would be nice for you to see, but here, appreciation is difficult. It's not a big grand number, but in the long-term game, if you get in at a low cost, then you could kind of guarantee, we're talking about equity at the end, the spread between the value and what you put into the property, or what you owe on the property, right? And that would be your equity. Well, I put 66,000 euros in, and hopefully in 10 years, I could expect it to grow more than 1%. That's the idea. There's always some appreciation, assuming that you get in a good price. There's some instant equity at times, especially in scenarios like this one. In this situation, instant equity has brought my value of the two properties together. It's not like two 120,000 euro properties. It's more like two, they were 33,000, now they're more like 40 or 50,000 euros, okay? So, and the reason for that is that the exterior still needs a remodel, and I could put 10,000 each property, so 20,000 more in to 86,000 euros, and that would probably bring me up to like 70 or 80,000 per apartment, but we're just gonna leave it as it is, and we're gonna even like drop the level a little bit, and we're gonna say that the value is only 80,000, okay? So that long-winded answer for saying that the property has gained instant value from 66 to 80,000 merely because I separated the two properties. And I've already had offers on both properties that we just haven't taken because there are some interesting things happening with tax incentives coming up where the values, they are inherently increased as of today, assuming everything goes as planned. And I'll explain that another time. If I increase 80,000 by 3, so you multiply it by 1.03 for 3%, and that brings you to 82,400 euros. The difference being 2,400 euros, right? Now, the next year, it's not 2,400 anymore. It's 2,472. And the next year, it grows up even more and even more and even more until in 10 years, that number has actually reached like 27,000. I'm not talking about the total, I'm talking about the increase, right? 27,513 euro of appreciation. That's the American market. The Italian market, for the type of construction I have right now, I can't say, so we're using that example. All right, so we've got our 10-year number here. We have our 1-year number. Now we have our 10-year number here. If we just drop that comma and move it over, 55,000 in 10 years, 27,000 in 10 years. And I'm talking about 10 years because most, especially here, it's a good buy and hold strategy because selling the property immediately, it oftentimes is difficult, but a good buy and hold strategy puts you into this earning cash over time as well as appreciation over time. The third category is the loan payoff, okay? I do have a loan, as stated here, and that loan is being paid 200 euros every single month. Well, it's actually 191, and it's actually minus 11 for there's an 11 euro insurance policy. And so taking out the interest, which is about 15 euros at the beginning, and it decreases slightly over time. Taking out that 15 euros of interest, it puts us at every single month paying in about 165 euros into your own value over time, right? 165 times 12 times 10. And that's pretty easy. I'm just going to put it here. So we have 165 of capital payoff every single month times 12 months, and then we're going to multiply that by 10 years as well, okay? So what this is number 3 down here. So it's not so organized, but what that number tends to be is 19,800 euros over a 10-year period. Okay, so I've got my 3 big numbers, and that's without tax incentives. If I add these 3 numbers up, let's look at it by itself. Okay, I'm going to start deleting from up here. Let's just leave those 3 numbers on the board. We have 1, 2, and 3. Cash flow, appreciation, and loan payoff. Not erasing anything, actually. So these 3 numbers together. Anybody want to type in the comments what that equals? I'm kidding. Don't type this in the comments. That's a waste of comment space. Okay, so those 3 together, after 10 years, the value basically you're paying yourself 102,513 euros or 10,000 a year, okay? So that's not a million, and so and Bigger Pockets even explains all this, is that it's just the repetitive motion of doing this over and over and over again. So how many years does it take before this can be a million? Well, by itself, it's going to take a long time. But if you take this and you repeat yourself, that's where it gets cool. So I guess we're applying this to my situation and Italy specifically. And I know we should have dealt with the correct appreciation here. So because that does inflate my numbers more than I probably should. We're going to get to a million faster this way. So it takes us from, say, let's start from 2020 to 2030. And you can pretty easily see this is about 100,000. So it takes 10 of these to equal 1 million. If I did that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the ending year, it would be about 2040, right? There are better investments than this by far. There are worse investments too. But the idea is that I start here, and by 2040, I should have a times 10 factor. Okay, I should have 1,025,130 euros. Now that's if every situation was exactly like the situation I have now, and that's not going to happen. But I'm getting better at imitating this same scenario, and it's when I look for that type of real estate investment, and if I'm focused on that and focused on that solely, it would take about that 20-year period of basically one purchase every single year, and I could do it. So if you increase the frequency in which you purchase, if you find a more valuable property, then this is where I can arrive to this number at a quicker pace. But it's not usually the fastest person that wins the race. It's often the turtle who has just that good game plan, right? Here we go. That's the path of financial independence that Bigger Pockets suggested. And he's not the only one that talks about this. It just happened to be the video I saw, and I liked the way he presented it. And I wanted to see if I was on track. I think I like to see this number, right? This number here probably would be a lot less. I mean, even if I take out the appreciation and just go for, well, these two together, the cash flow and the loan payoff by itself, it's still a 75,000 euro gain over 10 years. So, and not including, that's only half of the equation. So it's a good start. It really is a good start, and I'm proud of it. There are times where I'm like, oh, this was the dumbest idea, just because it gets a little bit hard to manage properties at times. But I feel good with where we're at, and even if I repeat this motion for the next 20 years, I could do it. I could do it easily. And in that point, I could consider myself as someone who owns $1 million. We're not talking about how much property value I hold. We're talking about my net worth when it's all said and done. Because this is cash coming in. This is equity that I hold on top of the already inherent equity from when I remodel. And this right here would be the amount I actually increased by every time the loan's paid off slightly. This video has been fun to do. I don't usually do this kind of thing right here on the whiteboard. It was a little bit hectic to set these things up, but if you like this kind of video where we talk numbers, especially when regarding Italian real estate, I know this seems like just a big copy of Bigger Pockets, but he's a good guy to imitate. So I'm happy to do it, especially because now I have a better understanding of my financial position, and that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters, okay? Thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like I said, and share this video if you want to share this lesson with anybody, or go and share Bigger Pockets too. He has a really good way of explaining things. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.